into the second half of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Fuzzy, look, Xbox Game Pass is something that we continue, and I say we as a community, to talk about. There's good reasons for it. Value proposition leads the conversation. Now, over the weekend, Paris Lily, who is notorious recently for dropping like nuggets of information. So, got to give him credit. Got to give Jez Corden of Windows Central credit, as well as Clobriel, who put out a list of games with dates. We'll get into that. But July looks like it's going to be a mammoth month for Xbox Game Pass and its millions of subscribers. Now, again, folks, not every game is for every gamer. Not every game on the list is going to be your cup of tea. But what if they are? Well, then you're getting a plethora of games for your $16.99 a month. Now, Paris had tweeted, the next 2 weeks for Xbox Game Pass is looking good. And he had put images of Flintlock, the Dungeons of Hindenburg, the Path of the Goddess, Frostpunk 2, and Age of Mythology, which is, again, the last two, not for me. Frostpunk 2, not for me. Age of Mythology, definitely not my bag. But there are a lot of gamers that cannot wait for that. Path of the Goddess, the demo was pretty damn good. It's a mix of a little of action, a little RTS, a little strategy. I kind of dig it. I don't know how much time I'm going to put into it, but it does give me some very serious Animusha vibes in regards to its lore and the way the story is told. So I'm definitely going to give it a try in Xbox Game Pass day and date. Dungeons of Hindenburg looks really good. Flintlock looks absolutely phenomenal. Every time I see it, I cannot wait to play that game. But Fuzzy, that's not where it ends, because Jez Corden responds to Paris Lily's post and says, might look even better soon, maybe, possibly. That's such a Jez thing. And of course, Paris responds with the eyeballs. Now, one of the things that I love about Clobriel, besides doing incredible graphics that he puts up for us to use in sometimes our podcasts and as thumbnails, he does great work in the community by keeping us updated to what is coming for Xbox. Specifically, this particular tweet is about Xbox Game Pass and those 2 weeks that Paris and Jez Corden were talking about. Now, on July 11th, Neon White, Xbox Day 1. Now, Neon White was a PlayStation exclusive and was in the running for quite a few awards. So that is dropping on the 11th. The same day, now this is also a game that was originally a PlayStation-only game. It's called Tachaya, and it does have a lot of similarities to Breath of the Wild. The character, the way you fly around, how much stamina you have when you climb, looks pretty good. Game Pass day and date. Magical Delicacy is another one that's coming out. Now, I don't know what that game is. I don't know if it's a cooking game. It certainly sounds like it. But again, a game into Game Pass that someone is going to like. Now, is everyone going to like it? No. But there's another game called Flock, Day 1. That's on the 16th. On the July 18th, you got Dungeons of Hindenburg. You also have releasing the same day, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. And on the 19th, Kinitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess. That is that Capcom new IP. Again, Day 1 in Game Pass. Multiplat, yes, but Day 1 in Xbox Game Pass. That is a big deal. Now, there is some more tail to this kite. And the tail was added by, and I got the tweet right here. Let me bring it up. It is by one of our, well, at least one of my personal favorites, Ecstasies. Now, Ecstasies is a YouTuber from Spain. He's well connected. I know for a fact, because we talk behind the scenes, he knows things. Well, he put out a tweet where someone had reached out to him regarding Avatar Frontiers of Pandora dropping into Xbox Game Pass. And this is what he has to say. Xbox and Ubisoft alliance to bring us the new Avatar game to Game Pass. A fan has sent me images of the game where it appears available on Xbox Game Pass, which is curious because the game has not been announced for the service. it could be a bug, but many games that have reached the service have also been leaked this way. We will wait for more news, but it seems that we could have this game in the service. Did you get the same message? Now, I did not go further to look for it, but again, adding some more tail to this flying high kite is two rumors that are potentially floating around that I have seen in private circles as well as public circles. And there are two additional games that have been unannounced that may make their way for Game Pass in July. Now, Randall Thor, we all know him, the man with the million, talked about it on the Xbox 2 podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where he believes that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 will be dropping into Game Pass at the end of the month. Now, what's interesting is we had a story last week, if you remember, Fuzzy Belvedere, about some leaks about the Activision games starting to find their way in August, but then we heard that it might be sooner. I mean, look, this isn't a console war thing, ladies and gentlemen. This is a holy shit thing. PlayStation is currently sitting on their thumb. They have nothing coming out. Their last state of play was more like a state of disappointment. They have no roadmap. Nintendo put out an amazing 8.5 show that gave us a list of what's coming for the rest of the year and the start next year. And obviously, neither of those companies have a day and date service. Now, PlayStation does have PlayStation Plus. It did go up $40. It's $160 a year. In my personal opinion, as a consumer, they do not give you enough for that. Nintendo's $60 a year that they charge you, not only for the online, which is barely functioning, but they do give you all of these classic games that someone like me and my nephew Tyler enjoy playing. Like I talked about it last week, we played Wave Race 64. I mean, maybe you're not going to play it, but I like old games. Yeah. Now we move into something called Xbox Game Pass that seems to be the talk of the town, Fuzzy Belvedere. And there we are at a point where there is absolutely no denying what they have coming out for July on top of a few rumored additional games. Seems like if you're not already a part of the service, you definitely got to get into it. The games are worth it. The value proposition is there. Let's get into it, man.
Well, I'd just like to start off with the announced ones. Like the fact that we're getting Flintlock and Katsugami, Path of the Goddess, those are day and date. Those are huge into the service. Like I remember how big of a thing Outriders was, and I would say this is equally as big. Although the Outriders one was completely left field, caught us by surprise. Nobody even predicted that type of thing. There was no kind of announcement until almost like last minute kind of thing. So that shocked the world. But now we see a lot of these third parties are coming day and date. And we've known about these for some time, at least with like Flintlock and stuff. But now is the time where we get to play it. And given how polished these games look, like I know that, at least with Flintlock, it went through a couple of delays, but that gave them time to polish it. And I think even the trailer that they showed at the Xbox showcase really set it off as far as like how ready this game is at this point. Like I'm ready to play it. I know it's getting harder now, especially with things like the First Ascendant out, as far as being able to stay on top of the backlog before it becomes a backlog. But yeah, I'm going to definitely make time for Flintlock. And then the fact that we got Neon White, which a lot of people are like, I can't wait till this comes to Xbox. Now we finally get it in Xbox in our subscription service and stuff. And I encourage people, if they like more of like the fluid platformers, I guess is the best way to describe it, this is probably one for you to at least give a try. And I would highly recommend it. But there's just so much other stuff. Like we're right on the cusp now of the ABK games coming in the Game Pass. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, why is it taking so long? And it's a lot of it, I think, would probably be thanks to the FTC or the CMA as far as how long they've dragged on, that acquisition and stuff like that. Now, because we don't have to worry about them coming back and fighting or trying to do an appeal, it looks like FTC is now withdrawing that and everything. They can go full bore into getting everything ready to go. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it shouldn't take that long to make these things available in the store if they were available for sale before. But we have to remember, I think it's what BattleNet is what their online store or launcher was. So some of
Yeah.
that has been problematic in the background. Like even when they released Diablo, it was probably flawless on console, but for PC, there was a little hiccup. Not everybody experienced the hiccup, but if you already had the Xbox app, you had to link the BattleNet app, and then when you did that, you almost had to well, for some, you had to uninstall the Xbox app and then reinstall it because otherwise the game wouldn't launch sometimes, or it would have some sort of like launching issue where it would crash right away. But these are some of the stuff that they have to work through and make sure it's ready come the time when, especially when Call of Duty comes out later this year. But as far as a lot of the other games, and I always say whenever we have an outage, which are few and far between when it comes to Xbox Live, they're usually doing something in the background. And the last couple of times I can remember, one of them was just before Xbox Ultimate, or not Xbox, I keep on calling it Ultimate, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate was first coming to be, because it was just regular Game Pass at that point. You can have live. There was an outage for like a half a day or something like that, and people were like, "What the heck is this? And why is it saying I don't own these games and all?" It was because I guess they were doing stuff in the background to prepare for that upgrade tier or whatever. That kind of caused some things to act a little out of sorts for that partial day type of deal. The other time that there was an outage, I think, was like either shortly before or shortly after a lot of the Bethesda titles went into the service kind of thing. And there were a handful of them that weren't active. And I think like the Evil Within 2, because that was still in PS Plus or whatever at the time, that was one of the holdovers that couldn't go into the service. And then, of course, like with Ghostwire Tokyo, that one they still had the deal. So it took a little bit longer to get that one. But overall, those were after the acquisition, those were a lot smoother, but there was that one outage. And I think this outage that we had, like, what was it, last week or whatever, for like part of the day, I think that's them getting a lot of the ABK stuff ready. Like we've seen the relistings of the Transformer titles. If they're talking about like Modern Warfare 3, the rumor being that might be in by the end of the month, considering that would be, I think, at the 2-year mark where the contract would have already ended for the marketing, or at least the marketing at the 1-year mark for Sony. I think that one stands a strong chance, or at least I look at it this way. I expect most of the Black Ops back compat games to be, or not back compat, but like their back catalog to be readily available in Game Pass probably by the launch of Black Ops 6, just to kind of go through the history of Black Ops. At least I expect that. But the, what do you call it, the Crash Bandicoot collection is probably coming soon. The Tony Hawk collection is probably coming soon. So on top of the stuff that they've announced and the possibility of Avatar, which we have to remember, they have a strong business relationship with Ubisoft. They're the ones that have the rights as far as for the ABK streaming stuff. So they've been working well together. You've seen a lot of Ubisoft titles make it into the service. Some of them day and date, which what was that, Rainbow Six, not Siege, but the Contagion, or I forget what
Yeah,
they
the one
called
with
it.
the zombie creature things. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Ubisoft has always worked well with Microsoft. In fact, they have marketing. Usually, Xbox has marketing for Ubisoft games. So we see that with Assassin's Creed. We see that with Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I wouldn't expect necessarily those to be in Game Pass anytime soon. Probably maybe 6 months to a year afterwards. But Avatar would be a nice one where I don't think it did as well for Ubisoft in comparison as far as sales may concerned. I mean, visually, from what I've seen of the game, it looks stunning. But if it didn't, meet necessarily the numbers, it's like, well, if Microsoft is willing to, give them an upfront on it, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll put it in the service, because that seems to work out well where it helps them sell you know, their DLC or any, time saver, microtransactions and things like that. Like that's got to be one of the biggest things to point out. When a game appears free in a service, you're more willing to give money towards the upgrades on that game, or some of the DLC that maybe, you wouldn't have necessarily bought day one type of thing. Now you're more likely because, well, hey, I'm enjoying this game as part of my subscription. Why not give them a couple more bucks for this added stuff, or this particular cosmetic that I'm looking forward to? But yeah, the way things are shaping up, the second half of this year, or just for this month in general, if you have a backlog right now and you're not tackling at least part of your backlog, you're going to be buried by the time things like Indiana Jones or even Call of Duty come out later this year. Just with the cadence, the stuff that they're releasing, third party and first party wise. So I would say be prepared. We're going to be eating good for pretty much the next few years. And then by that point, by the next few years, we'll probably be in the next gen and have the updated roadmap for the next gen and so forth. But yeah, it's a pretty stacked month for this month. And that's just on what's announced and the possibility of a handful more games, especially the back catalog stuff from ABK. You can't beat it at this point. Game Pass is the ultimate value. And it was that beforehand. Now it's going to be even more so, with all the stuff that they're adding.